this installation, in this doorway, I've actually got quite a height difference between where the carpet's going and the newly laid LVT floor. To check the height difference, what we need to do first is use a Stairrods drop checker, and I can adjust that down, and that's reading at 19mm on there, so it's got a 19mm drop on that. Now you need to know what you're actually working with. So with this one, I'm actually going to be using the TramlineZ bar, which has a drop of 8mm. So if I use a 12mm Easyshim on this, that should give me quite a nice gradient through to that floor. Easyshims come in packs of 10, and there's 6, 9, 12 and 15mm height differences. And utilising one shim, I can actually create a corner piece as well. One shim will produce 2 corners, so if you've got a wider doorway. So what that does is give me a nice gradient down that way, and exactly the same gradient this way. When it comes to actually installing the shim, so all I need to do is just bring it up to the far edge. And using one of the side shims, I can put a quick mark to gauge what width I actually need. As this is a thicker product, I've just used the jigsaw to cut this down. Just drop that into place. When it comes to the side shims, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to do it 2 different ways. I'll do it quite a rough way this side, and I'll do it more intricate this side. This side will be commercially acceptable as long as you get good fixings with a gripper and it complies with industry standards. But this way is going to be more attention to detail, which I feel gives a better installation overall. Now the first thing I need to do is just gauge the width of that point. I can just put a quick mark on this piece. And again, just using one of the side shims, I'll just extend that line down. Firstly, I need to secure the shims just by using a piece of masking tape. Just hold them in position. So what I can do is I can use a back marker. Back marker is any piece with 2 parallel edges and bigger than the actual size we need. So the first process is just marking where the architrave changes shape, breaking into smaller sections, and in effect what I'm doing is drawing the architrave onto the shim itself. Once I've got those marks on there, I can now bring the shim down where it meets the furthest edge, just there. And using that back marker, I can now mark along the skirting board. I can mark that section just there. As that's on an angle, I'll mark the 2 points, join those 2 lines up. Front of that curve, how far the curve drops back, that corner just there, and that corner just there. So that will make that one, and then it's just a case of drawing the architrave onto. Now I will mechanically cut this one, just using the jigsaw and the scroll blade. Once we've cut the pieces down, the shim just slides into position. The gaps aren't going to cause a detrimental effect to the actual installation itself. When it comes to this side shim, all I need to do is turn it around and mark it up on this end. Just using some gripper shears, I can cut that off, and then that slide into position there. Just to make sure that your feather edge is pretty much in line. Once we've got our shims cut down and into position, now it comes to the fixing side of things. When we're working on top of a suspended substrate, timber floors, I want to make sure I've got a row of fixings underneath where the bar's going to sit. That's going to take the most pressure on this installation. If I have fixings back here, that shim could actually slightly lift up. So I'm going to make sure I've got fixings across there, on the side shims as well. Along the bottom edge, I could just put some staples in there or some ring shank nails, because that just needs to sit flat to the surface. If the floor is slightly uneven, you could also put fixings across the middle as well. If you're working on top of a solid substrate, then you're going to have to actually stick the shims down. Make sure you use the appropriate primer and adhesive, and always consult manufacturer. Now with the 12 and the 15mm shims, I'm actually going to screw these ones down just to make sure I've got a really good hold. About every 150mm. The bar is going to be raised slightly, but we want it countersunk as much as possible. With the side shims, as we've actually cut back into the product's got thinner, so we can use some ring shank nails for that bit. Same principle applies. And then along the back edge, just put some staples in it. Now we're nice and secure. I can measure up for the bar itself, just using an adjustable straight edge. I can measure the doorway and mark up the TramlineZ. TramlineZ does come pre-taped. Use the mitre block and a hacksaw. I can now get this bar cut down. It's only aluminium, so it does cut quite nicely. You start the cut off. Now I've got the bar cut, I'll just snip off the corners, just in case the door checks are slightly raked back at all. And that should then drop into position. Now, the TramlineZ actually works slightly differently to the EasyZ. Still need to raise the base as per any stretch fit installation. We've got about a mil gap along the front edge. Now the TramlineZ incorporates easy wedges. Easy wedge is actually a chamfer. So what it does, as I place it under the bar itself, it's raising the base by about 3-4mm. But it's also dropping the front edge as well, so if there is any slight gaps, it'll drop that right down. And just using some ring shank nails, I can now pin this into place. Get the ends fixed in first. and then just work along the bar itself. So to cut the inlay down, I just need to take the offcut I've already got, measure what the insert is, so that's reading 23.5, a bit of masking tape on, just mark that like so. There is a video for the TramlineZs themselves, so I'm not going to go into them too much, but all I need to do is line up these 2 points, make sure it's dead in position, and then just score the LVT. Once the carpet's been predominantly installed, I'm just going to show you a little tip with the door bars. Now, as you look at a door bar from face on, sometimes it can actually drop in the corners. So just giving it a little bit of a turn on the sides will actually pack up both edges. Alternative method is to take your gripper up to the bar itself, but that can sometimes give you a sharp point on the edge. So nice smooth transition through there. I can now just get the topping off the bar itself. We've gone with a nice antique bronze with this one. Just blends it in with the LVT floor. So I've just taken the topping off. The topping's obviously a protective layer over the bar. It does two things. A, it prevents the surface getting damaged or scratched, but it also prevents against the actual tape itself getting contaminated. The very last thing is putting the inlay in. So if I just take the topping of the tape off, there's a contact tape in there. When putting the LVT inlay in, just make sure your underside is nice and clean as well. We can place that into the recess. Give a bit of pressure and that'll blend that bar into the floor itself with a nice transition through